Hi, Weeping Time.
Good to see everyone. Thanks for having me. I would like to thank the tech team for advancing my PowerPoint slides today. Any indications that they are ready?
Yeah, thank you for joining us. We would first like to present your bio, and then you can proceed with your presentation.
Okay.
Weeping Tan is a passionate advocate for neurodivergent individuals, leveraging her personal journey to drive awareness and inclusivity. Originally from Singapore and now in Australia, she is dedicated to fostering diverse and supportive communities, inspiring social change through advocacy and representation. That was a great bio. Now you can proceed with your presentation.
Thank you so much. Can you bring up the PowerPoint slides for me, please? Is it ready? Or I can share my screen. All right, I'll share my screen. No worries. Fantastic. All right. So again, thank you for having me. And usually at the beginning of any presentation, I would like to play a little bit of like an ice-breaking game. And today I chose a riddle. So let us look at the riddle. So can you solve this? A father and his son are in a car accident. The father dies at the scene and the son is rushed to the hospital. At the hospital, the surgeon looks at the boy and says, I can't operate on this boy. He is my son. So how can this be? Um, I got this riddle from Google search. So some of you might really already know this riddle, but I like to play a little game to have like a ice breaking. So let's look at the answer together. The answer is the surgeon is the mother of the patients. So based on statistic, about 40% of the population assume that surgeons are male. So this brings me to the next slide that I want to bring. It's busting some common assumptions on neurodivergence. So today I brought four stigmas that I really want to show everyone. So first of all, not everyone is on the spectrum. We might hear some people say, everyone is a little bit of autistic, everyone has a little bit of OCD, things like that. But that's entirely not true. It's either you have a diagnosis or you're not, as simple as that. So the second point is neurodivergent is not a mental illness. A very good example I always share with people is either you use an iPhone or an Android phone. It's different, but it's not less. It's similar to someone who is a right-hander versus someone who is a left-hander. So we are just different. That's how the operating system works. Thirdly, most importantly, medications are not addictive. So some of the neurodivergent community, they require medication to overcome their symptoms, but they resist because they thought, oh, if I'm on medication, it's going to be addictive. It's entirely not true. However, on the other hand, alcohol is. A lot of people, they abuse alcohol because they think that it's a tool for them to relax. After a long day of work, you want to have a glass of wine, which is perfectly fine. But it gets really hard when the amount doesn't satisfy you anymore and you consume more and more. And that is the time where alcohol becomes addictive. So it's a very good stigma that we want to bust today. So lastly, symptoms are not always visible, especially neurodivergent male versus female. They can be very different. So moving on to the next slides. How can we tackle assumptions? So first of all, We assume everyone has good intentions. Everyone is trying their best and everyone wants to thrive. So we assume the best of them. Then second, move to the second point, know our boundaries. Of course, we can't control things, and there's something we really cannot control. So choose how to react. In this time of social media, I would suggest block and unfollow will be one of the things that we can choose to react. If someone is really bullying you and you're feeling very overwhelmed, just block and unfollow. Simple as that. And thirdly, again, look at what's costing you. I know some family might be experiencing not as supportive as you would like them to be. And again, back to the second point, you can block it and unfollow. You can set your boundaries. And fourthly, overcome should be taught. So we are in this society whereby we feel that we should do this. Someone should be like that. We should behave certain way. And if you look back, usually people who thinks that you should do something, they are really scared. They are very worried that if they don't follow the norms, there's repercussion. They will be, they will be offended. So overcome should be taught is very important when we talk about neurodiversity. Next one. So labels, another word for diagnosis. So labels are mental shorthand. So for example, someone with sensory processing disorder, it will cover a strong sense of like and dislike. It's very obvious. And when you express your challenges, if you have a label, if I have a diagnosis, people can understand. It's like a mental shorthand. And of course, we are in this society, we are adults and we have to be responsible for our own action. Unfortunately, we are binded by law and orders. We are responsible for our actions, in short. So we are in this world where we still need labels. My dream is to make sure that everyone can be themselves, can be authentic. But at this point of time, we still need diagnosis. We still need to label people. But the thing I really want to emphasize here is what we need is an explanation, not an excuse for bad behavior. So you might have an explanation of why you're experiencing this, but it's not an hall pass that you can get away with anything. That's never the case. So I really want to highlight this point. So I have just 4 reasons why people want labels, the common ones. So firstly, to access support and medication. So we want to able to share our challenges, to let people know that what you're experiencing matter, you're not alone. Just finding someone you can talk to. So the second point is understand themselves and others. In my community, we have met people who experience the whole entire childhood not knowing themselves, not knowing why. And once they have a diagnosis, everything seems to make sense to them right now. So they understand why they have this thing and can help people to understand themselves too. Does that make sense? Yeah, so understand themselves. So third point is finding community mentors and coaches. Very important when your traits and personality doesn't fit into the social cues that the society think they are. Finding a mentor who has lived experience or able to understand, able to get it. So it's also very important to going on this neurodivergent journey. So fourthly, simply want help. So again, some people have been struggling neurodiversity for a very long time, and finally they're able to find a reason why they behave this way and able to have help. So I make a little point there saying that it is the brain that works this way. It's not about being stupidity. It's not being about lazy. It's not being, you're being difficult. That is entirely not true. So moving on to the next slide. Okay. Why do we need to be neuro-affirmative? The million-dollar questions. So I also highlight 3 points on the left. So neurodivergent has significant increase of suicide of about 5 to 7 times. And this is why, because by the age of 12, on average, a neurodivergent receives 20,000 more negative comments than neurotypicals. So imagine the entire childhood, they receive 20,000 more negative comments. And when they move on to teenage years and even adulthood, you can imagine how much they have been accumulating for their entire life, all those negative comments they have to receive. And then bring down to the third point, about 30 or 50% of the UK prison are thought to be neurodivergent. There is a particular story that really, really stings my heart and I would like to share with the audience. So there's a documentary about ADHD. So 2 boys in high school, secondary school, they were playing during recess, and boys being boys, they were pushing around. One boy punched the other boy by mistake. So the bell rang, recess is over, the class teacher came out and said, time to go back to the classroom. So the boy who got punched has ADHD. So feeling overwhelmed and then, shutting down, he simply wants to go to the toilet and wash his face. So the class teacher says, no, you have to go back to the classroom. Not listening or, very distracted, very distraught, he proceeds to walk to the toilet. So the teacher sort of using her hand to block the toilet door, preventing the ADHD boy from entering. So the ADHD boy, not knowing the social cues, not knowing what to do, not knowing better, insists and pushes his way through to use the toilet. And guess what? The teacher pressed charges. So the next thing you know, the ADHD boy is spending his weekend in juvenile detention center. Very heartbreaking, he's just a boy, doesn't know anything better, it's a misunderstanding. But then in reality, this is the society that we have been living in. Neurodivergence, they're very tricky with social cues, and these things do happen in today's. So again, why do we need to be neuroaffirmative? So if you look at the right, that I highlight 3 points as well. So we are in this society where we have the duty to make reasonable adjustment. So for example, if you have a coworker who she's like 8 months pregnant, it is very, very unlikely that you will post her to another country for work. Like you want to be reasonable with your expectations. Similar to food allergy, someone has food allergy, you want to be very accommodating. Wheelchair users, you don't expect wheelchair users to use the stairs, isn't it? And I want to highlight girls having period in schools. They might need to use toilet a little bit more frequent than normal days. So we want to be reasonable. So this brings me to the second point. Reasonable is very complex to understand, especially for employers or even schools, teachers. It can be very, very confusing. And I get it. I really, really get it. Everybody's definition is different. We are still learning. We want to advocate. And what the ultimate thing we really want to share is the third point. We have to protect against discrimination. That is the ultimate thing that we really want to show. We are not trying to be, special treatment or anything. We just want to protect discrimination. Simple as that. So moving on to the next slide. So I have highlighted a few types of sensory neurodivergence that we could see. So from the left, the first one is visual. So staring at neurodivergent can be very overwhelming. Bright lights, eye contact can be very challenging for some people. They avoid eye contact altogether. So this could be one of the symptoms. So auditory, we really want to normalize wearing noise cancelling headphones. They are not considered rude. They are just coping it, and they are just trying to fit in. Like they're just trying to cope with their overwhelming. So sense of touch and texture. So I personally saw someone wearing a t-shirt that's saying, "Do not touch me." Literally. Yes, there's people to that extent wearing a t-shirt. Again, sensory thing that they really prefer not to be touched. Fidget toys for kids, they can't sit still. They really need the tools for them to, fidget. So we move on to smell. Again, perfume, some food can be really offensive, very strong dislike on the sense of smell. Move on to taste. We have pica. Pica is the diagnosis for eating non-edible food. Long story short, it's a kind of neurodivergent. Like, again, very complex, but it is one of them. So moving on to body movement. So example, gross motoring skills. Some neurodivergent might struggle with personal space or balancing issue. So lastly, internal body states. They can have poor sense of knowing hunger, poor sense of knowing tired. They can't fall asleep. They can't stay asleep. High tolerance of pain, very dangerous. If they injured themselves, they are not aware, and it can go infections, and it can be very, very complicated. And difficulty identifying emotions. Again, one of the neurodivergent traits that you can see. Moving on. So I came up with the ORCA framework, which is easy to understand. So from left, we can start off with observe. So notice how people naturally communicate. You can see someone, they prefer to write down on notes. Some like to take pictures so that, I'm more of a visual person. Or again, some people avoid eye contact altogether. So if someone is not looking at you, don't get offended. So number 2 will be reflect. So how you interpret differences. Example, how people reply messages, and some people like to use audio messages. I don't know anyone else, but if it's only me, I really, really hate audio messages. It's like so difficult for me. If someone were to send me an audio message, I would kindly and firmly say it's very unlikely that you can get an immediate response from me because it's really hard for me to process. Yeah, I would definitely say that if someone continually sending me audio messages. So third point, I would say communicate. So welcome suggestions. Someone who is neurodivergent in your team, you might feel that what's your experience on this? I really value you for who you are. Is there something, a method that you prefer that we can help? So again, be open about it. So fourth one will be act. So record the things that you need to remember. For example, today, Hui is going to tell you that she really struggled with audio messages. If you can, avoid it. So, things like that, trying to be, accommodating. And further education, that's why we are here listening to how to be neuro-affirmative. Yeah, thank you, everyone. And of course, offer support on potential improvement. I highlight here the sunflower lanyard. It's a movement by for hidden disability. So if you see someone wearing a sunflower lanyard, it means the person has hidden disability, which is not visible, physically. So give him a little bit more time, or you can again communicate. No, I notice you're wearing the sunflower lanyard. Is there anything I can help you with? So being supportive. So lastly, recognize the effort, not just the outcome. So if you're having a really big party and you invite a lot of people, there's loud music, there's bright lights. So maybe someone who is very, very sensitive to loud music and loud bright lights, he or she show up, did not stay for the whole party, but at least 20 minutes, try to be there and show up, show support. And you want to recognize the effort, like thank you for coming. I know it's a little bit tricky for you, but just recognize their effort. Moving on. All right, so what we can do today, after today, we can have some really good neuro-affirming workplaces that we can practice. So I choose 4 that I can share today. So firstly, from the left, number 1, meeting resolutions. So a very good way is to send meeting agenda at least 48 hours in advance. It really helps people to prepare and then get their things done and schedule nicely. Highlight key points visually, things like date, time, venue. If you can highlight them, it really helps. Little things really helps. So third point will be keep the meeting short. Again, it's a very good business practice. You keep the meeting in 1 hour or less, if possible. If not, try to schedule some breaks if you can. Toilet breaks. Have stretch of legs. So sensory conscious workplace. I think this is quite common. I've seen a lot of companies are doing that, is to designate a quiet zone for focus work. There's meeting rooms where you can really go in and then put your headphones on and really deep dive into your focus work. I have seen people really thrive in that environment. So second, install adjustable lighting, adjustable tables, you can fidget around if you have to. Again, the one that I always emphasize, noise canceling headphones, weighted blankets, for example, fidgeting toys, they need it, let them have it. So the third point will be communication clarity. So use a clear project template. So everyone, a standard one, a very clear one. Everyone will be using it, just to make sure it's a very structured one. So set clear expectation. What does good work mean? So first of all, do a good job, break a leg. What does that mean? You really have to say what is well done means. So offer a verbal and written instructions. Of course, some people is okay to receive verbal instructions. If you can write it down for them, send an email, that would be great. Flexible working styles. People work differently, and yeah, we have to respect that not everyone is robot. We are not AI. Everyone has different working styles. Provide multiple deadlines indicators, like instead of like everyone submit on the 31st of March, can we have like a check-in on the 15th of March, and then do like updates on like 20th of March, and then finally 31st of March. It will be a very good indication on how the thing flow. So lastly, inclusive culture. We celebrate and accept different thinking styles, and we need that because this is how creativity is born. It's how we collide, we have friction, and we explore into creativity. I think we want to embrace this culture, and we all will benefit from it. And also normalize employees requesting for accommodations. Again, someone who is pregnant, someone who has allergies, someone who is a wheelchair user, it's normal to request for accommodations, and we want neurodivergent to have that right as well. And last but not least, create peer support. We want to have really neuro-affirmative community that we all can be ourselves. We don't have to mask ourselves. We can be authentic. So that is what I have for today. Thank you for watching, and I'm happy to have any questions.
That was an amazing session, briefing plan. We really like the way you explained about neurodiversity and also about the examples you have given about ADHD and all the examples you have beautifully explained. So we have few questions from our audience. We would like to address few.
Sure. Questions from the audience.
How can neurodiversity be reframed as an aesthetic leadership and team dynamics?
Sorry, I cannot hear you.
How can neurodiversity be reframed as an asset in leadership and team dynamics?
How can neurodivergent be
an asset in leadership and team dynamics?
Accepting leadership and team dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
How can I think firstly it's we want to see that if I am the neurodivergent, I want to know what is my impairment, what are the things I struggle with. So I think for me, I will work internally first, because I would definitely want to have a mentor or a coach to work on what I did, my deficit is, my challenges is. But if it's something that I feel can be like, for example, I need the very popular question, if I can work from home, this is the one thing. So if I can prove that if I can work from home twice a week, I can increase productivity, I can deliver my work projects on time, and I really need that focus work. And I demonstrate that I've already tried to look for like a therapist and coaching, and this is the one that they suggest for me. So I think being clear and then upfront saying that, okay, here is this is how I can thrive. This is the best version of myself. Can you help me? So I think that's the way we can approach that.
That was a very good information. Hope our audience got their answer, and
Yes.
we have further more sessions for today. So could you please join them too?
Yes, sure.
Thank you so much for your amazing presentation.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.